Hello, beautiful human. I'm Zach. That's Dan. And we welcome to the studio, Maisie Peter.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
You are the good witch.
I am.
So you do spells and stuff or not? Or what's your deal? Are you a part of like a coven?
It's none of your business.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I've known witches before. Really? Yeah. Like covens. Like have you heard of like a coven? Like
I have, yeah.
Yeah, a collection of
In LA?
Yes, yeah, many.
They sound like the most intense type.
Yeah, it was wild. You know somebody who's still in a coven.
Do I?
Yeah, one of your friends, Dan.
Oh, she is.
She is in the coven.
Yeah, I guess we can't talk about that.
Is that like a part of it?
Yep.
You can't talk. Okay, interesting.
It's like Fight Club.
Yeah, I got it. Fascinating. Well, thanks for being here.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me. I've watched these for a long time.
I'm so
it's
sorry.
Cool to be part of it.
No. No, thanks for giving us your time and energy today, and thanks for like always whatever you did, give us your time and energy. That means a lot. And you have a whole album, 15 songs, but there's going to be a deluxe, correct?
It's looking likely.
There's rumors.
It's the rumor mill churning.
Yeah, they're talking about it.
They are.
They're clamoring.
Chat. Mm-hmm.
And this whole era really starts in January, correct?
Yes. It started in January.
This is a long road to a release.
It was a long time. It started in January and I was in Australia. And then, the first song, the album got announced in January in Australia, but I filmed the music video for the first song in LA. And then the second song from the album came out in New York, but I'd filmed that music video in Tokyo. And then I went back to the UK and I filmed another music video in the forest in the UK, and then the album came out. Where was I? I was doing Glastonbury, and then we were out and about. We actually went to New York like 3 times in 3 weeks. Dude. And the weeks that I wasn't going to New York, I was getting the ferry to France. So it was sort of like a New York ferry vibe. You should try it sometime.
No.
And then I did some more things, and then I'm on tour in North America. What? And that's me. Okay. So
That's a good summary.
And that's me.
By the way, are we like writing as we're doing this second? Like you do a promo cycle, you do the whole thing, and you're kind of like in tour mode now, but are you creating as you go? Do you even care about a third album? Or are you just still writing your second?
I am. I just like to write because I think that for me, I've always written songs. That was like the first thing I did in music. I was writing songs when I was like 12, and I get a bit like antsy if I'm not writing songs or if I haven't written a song in a while. It's a bit like, can I still do it? And then you go back to it and you're sort of a bit like clumsy with it. So I like to keep writing, but I'll just write by myself on my guitar in like the dressing room. Weirdly, I'm kind of into that right now, like everybody else doing something and I'll just be writing something in the corner. And it's not super purposeful because I don't know if I'll use these songs for anything, but I just like doing it. And then also I find that I'll write these songs and they'll be like later on I'm kind of making less work for myself later on, because I have a feeling when I do go back to being in the studio or when I next decide to do that, I'll have all these ideas and sort of half-formed things that I kind of like magpie from. I'll like take lines or take feelings, or sometimes I'll literally take one word and that becomes something totally different. So
the album comes out in June. When was it actually finished?
It was finished, I think, on the 14th of December last year, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you sit on this finished body of work, kind of giving it in dribs and drabs. Are you writing while you're sitting on this finished album, or is your focus just on like making sure this thing is good to go and like coming to terms with releasing it to the world?
I think that I was mainly I was releasing it and promoting it and talking about it and thinking about it. And I was also on tour this whole year. I was in Australia and Asia for 2.5 months, and then I was around the UK, and then I was in Europe, and then I was doing the promo tour, and now I'm here. So I've really been very much away. So the writing I've been doing has been sort of alone and for my own enjoyment, which is actually great. I've not really written like that for a long time. So that's a different muscle and like a different thing. But I think mostly I've been focused on this album and then doing stuff by myself for fun.
How much of the new album are you playing on the road before it's released?
Well, we would play the songs as they came out.
Got it.
Which is funny because now we have all these, we played Body Better for the first time in New Zealand on the Ed Stadium tour. And then we played Lost the Breakup for the first time on Fallon in New York. And then we played a song called You're Just a Boy and I'm Kind of the Man. And we played that on the UK tour before it came out. So it was fun. It was sort of, as they came out, they'd be added to the set list.
When you're playing a song in front of a live audience, you get a whole different gauge and reaction to something, but then you don't have the ability to go and change it based on the feedback you get in the moment. Is that kind of like when you're playing a song live for the first time, do you care? I mean, you obviously care about what the audience thinks, but like, do you apply any of that reaction to what you're doing moving forward? It's like weird. Like times have changed. Like Neil Young used to do just shows of new fucking music that nobody would ever like hear the light of day on, and like that's how they would judge it, and he would judge it, and it's so crazy. You know what I mean? Like nobody would ever hear those things.
Yeah, I think that for me, I find it's interesting because you're right. Nowadays the process of like writing and releasing the music is kind of more intertwined than before because people will be putting things on the internet when things are half done and
Totally.
then taking it back, and which is interesting and like not necessarily a bad thing, but I think for me it's important, and just the way that I write music is that I care very much about what my audience likes and what my fans like, and I think about them all the time when I'm writing the music, but at the same time, they love my music because I'm writing it, and so I'm conscious that by the time I'm giving the song to the fans, or by the time I'm putting it on the internet, or I'm playing it live, I've decided what that song should be, and that's my finished version, and that's how I think that song should exist, and I think that's a good thing. I think you want the artist to know that.
Totally.
So I think by the time I'm giving it to people, and there've been songs that people have loved and songs that people have thought, oh, I like this song better than this song. And to me, it's like, well, I plan to release a lot of albums and write a lot of songs, so that's okay. Maybe you'll like the next one more.
That's genuinely your approach, right? That you just have this ability to keep going, and you just keep going no matter what. Like,
yeah, I just think that I really like making music and writing songs. So, and I really hope that this makes sense to me. I really hope that The Good Witch isn't my best ever album, because I wrote it when I was 22, and I'd like to think my best ever album is when I'm like 45, because that would be good. Like I'll know so much more by then. But at the same time, I'm so proud of The Good Witch and my first album, You Signed Up for This, and I love them so much because they are time capsules of those points in my life. The Good Witch was my year last year, and my first album was, I guess, all my life up to being 19, 20. And yeah, I'm so proud of those albums, but I also am aware that I'll make so many more.
what did you learn about yourself from making The Good Witch?
I think I learned, well, creatively, I learned that it's good. I wrote much more intentionally. I wrote much more personally and much more intentionally. And I think I used to have more of a like, what's the sentence? It's like quantity over quality. Yeah. Because there is some logic to that. Quantity of, the more you make, the higher your batting average, right? And there is some logic to that. I don't disagree. But I think with The Good Witch, because I just had so much less time because I was on tour. So I'd go to the studio literally in between shows. I went to Bergen in between two different European Ed Sheeran shows, and I went to Bergen to write for 2 or 3 days with a producer called Matthias Tellers, who I did a lot of stuff with on that album.
You have to come in really prepared in that
Yeah,
tiny
you've only
window.
got 2 days, and you're sort of subconsciously aware of a deadline, and so it's like you only have 2 days, and you're with these people, and everybody's found the time to get in together. So I do think that the way I was working was more intentional, and I was sort of really thinking about what I needed to say, and that was a really good thing for that album.
That's interesting. Like, what did your notes look like when you went into that session? And what did you come out with?
So my notes, literally, that we landed, I was with my friend and amazing songwriter called Ines Dunn, and we went straight from the airport to that session. And on the flight, I had been thinking, and writing things down. And I'd literally written the sentence, I can't help thinking that is a better body, a body better than mine. And I'd written some other stuff around it as well. And then we go to the session and we're sat there and we all have a chat for a while. And then I go, I wrote this down. I think this is interesting. And then we write the song, which is called Body Better. And then that was the first single from that album.
Why was that the first right single?
Why, sorry?
Why, yeah. Why was that the right first introduction to this entire album?
It felt right. I think when I wrote that song, and a friend of mine, Pete, said this as well when he heard it. He was like, when you wrote that song and when we got that demo back, that felt like a sort of turning point in the writing of that year. It felt like that was the beginning of really like making an album. And there are songs I'd made previously to that are also on the album, which were a little bit more sort of, I was throwing things out and sometimes like a boomerang, it kind of came back to me and it worked out. But that song, Body Better, and I'm sure it's half as well, it's half the magic of doing something intentionally. And I think that I got that song back and it felt like the album. It felt like the story I was telling, and I liked that it started that campaign off and that era off in a way that was sort of, it was like vulnerable and it was serious. And I liked starting that era off like that because it felt like a sort of promise I was making. I was like, this is me really giving you guys something that I've not really given you before, and that's how, start as you mean to go on kind of thing.
What are you giving them? Honesty?
Yeah, vulnerability, honesty. And I've always written honestly, but I've also always written, I've never been too constrained by real life. Don't let real life get in the way of a good song. That's what I always say. So I've very much flitted between the real and the surreal and all of that. And I still did with this album. But I think with The Good Witch, I really told a story of the life I was living, and I really, really sort of went into that in detail in a way that I hadn't previously.
Are all the songs on the album about you? Or from your life?
Yeah.
So you really are the Good Witch.
I am, yeah. It's not a lie. I'd never lie. I would all the time.
What are the Trauma Trio?
The Trauma Trio, they're the most traumatizing of the 3 songs of the album. And what did I say they were at the time? I think I said they were Body Better, 2 weeks ago, and Want You Back. I think I said those were the Trauma Trio, just like the most distressing emotionally for the girls.
Is 2 weeks ago a love song?
It's a good question, isn't it?
It's the only one that sounds like there's a little positivity in there.
Yeah, it's an interesting song because it actually kind of is. Yeah, that was a song. I mean, it's literally what it sounds like. It's a song I wrote 2 weeks after a breakup that I went through, and yeah, I love that song. It's sad in the context of itself, but it's also, it's really full of like love and care, and you can hear it in different ways, I think. But yeah, that I like that interpretation.
Do you remember the first song you ever wrote?
Yes.
What was it?
Well, I found a journal from 2009 and it had a song called Sandcastles in it, and it was about sand. And I also, not funny, I'm not sure why everybody laughed. And I also used to go around telling everybody. So do you guys know a band called the Sugar Babes? No, British coded. Okay, that's fine. So sad for you guys though. Wow. There's a song called About You Now by the Sugar Babes. It's a big song. You're just gonna have to trust me. It was a big song in the UK, and I used to go around telling everyone. I wrote all the lyrics out in my journal. I was probably 9, and I would go around and I would show people the lyrics in my journal. I'd be like, I wrote this. Nobody believed that. It's like saying you wrote Toxic by Britney Spears. Yeah. Like, not everyone's heard that song. I don't know who I thought I was kidding. But arguably, I also wrote About You Now by the Sugar Babes when I was 9. Sandcastle and About You Now, sort of an A and a B side.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. That's an honor to have you here.
I know. It's honestly an honor to be me.
The Sandcastle songs sound like they have potential, though. Yeah,
for sure. I think I might sort of try work it up.
Yeah, you could repurpose it.
Yeah, definitely. Pitch.
You talking about Body Better being a traumatic song? Part of the Trauma Trio? I don't know. It's just a light. It's hard to. I mean, it's a beautiful record.
Thank you.
Hard to share.
Body Better?
Yeah, or no?
Yeah, no, yeah. Yes, but also the good thing about releasing music is that, you know, I wrote that song, I think it was in June or July, and then that song came out in January or February. So you're in a very different place by the time, or at least for me, by the time I released that song, which was really good for that release and for me, because you're able to sort of, you can remember feeling that and you can remember the version of yourself that felt that, but you're no longer that person. So you have a bit of like healthy separation. I think otherwise it could be a whole festival of trauma, but it wasn't.
It takes
to release it.
It takes on new meaning.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And playing it live makes it take on a whole new meaning. And because then it's really about the show and it's about the people in front of you. And people always ask me, is it difficult to sing your songs and do you think about your life and is that hard? And for me personally, by the time I'm singing those songs and playing them, it would be so difficult for me to be simultaneously in the room on the stage singing those songs and mentally be 6 months back in a, you know, thinking about a different time, a different situation, a different person. And so for me, I find it easy to stay present and to when I'm singing the song, it's not difficult. I'm not sort of struck by memory. I'm really present and feeling whatever the audience is feeling.
What story are you telling top to bottom on this album? More than just you at this moment in time. Is there a larger story that you're trying to convey to somebody?
I think that whatever anyone wants to take from the album is perfect. I think I tell my story and I it's the story of a year of my life essentially. And it's nothing new. I mean, that's the whole thing of being a person. I guess we all sort of live the same life. So I tell my story and then I really just want somebody else to hear it and take it and have it be part of their life. I always think that to me, the best thing is when people come up to me and they're like, oh, I listen to this album every day on the way to work. And I think about what that actually is and that person in their car every single day, hearing that album through their speakers every single day. And that's like the coolest thing. And being a soundtrack to somebody's summer or somebody's breakup or somebody's new job, that's what I want.
You talked about songs taking on new meaning over time, but there is a song that you won't release and haven't released. It's 6 minutes long. It's called Take the Trade.
Oh, I was like, there's a few this could be. Yes, Take the Trade. It's so funny. That really, I think I just mentioned that once. I just said it was really sad and obviously the girls really held on to that one. It is 6 minutes long and it is good. I sent it to a friend of mine called Abby and whenever she sends me a picture of her listening to it, I'm like, you're not emotionally equipped to be listening to this right now. Like, it's a responsibility having that song, and I don't think most people are cut out for the responsibility.
Why is that? Why you won't share it?
No, I probably would share it. The thing is I write so many songs, and so with that song in particular, I actually fully would share it. It's never even left my voice memos. I wrote it on my family piano. It's probably like 3 years old, and I've never actually recorded it. It just doesn't exist as a demo. So maybe one day it will. Maybe one day I'll make a type of album where I think that song applies, and then it will. There's no like evil reason. It's just not happened yet.
Why do you need to make that song?
Why do I need to? Why did I make it?
Yeah, why did you need to? I mean, it's 6 minutes for a reason.
It is 6 minutes for a reason. I had a lot to say. I felt enough feelings to fill 6 minutes. And sometimes that happens and sometimes you look back and you think that could have been 2.5, but it was 6.
Yeah, but it's for you, really.
It is for me. It was for me. I write, as the thing, I write for myself and sometimes I really write for myself and you write for 6 minutes.
And I'm assuming that record helps you in some way, shape or form.
I think it did at the time, yeah. And I think it's a good song. I listen back to it sometimes. It's probably a little bit long, but I think it's good.
Sick. I think you should release it as is.
Maybe I will. 6 minutes,
memo,
whole thing. Voice memo, let's go.
Will you ever release Girls House?
That was what I thought you were going to say when you said it. I've fully given it to people. I I said to my fans that if my album went to number one, I think I said this, they could have it. And then it did in the UK. So I got Ed Sheeran to just put it on his Instagram story. And it was a Dropbox download. Like, you can fully have it. And it's also on my Discord. And you can fully have that as well. I think I love that song. Obviously, I love everything I write because I loved it at one point. And the only reason that I am not releasing it, and I'm really not trying to gatekeep, that's why I keep telling people that it's on the internet and they can have it for free.
I have it right here.
You have it? There you go.
It's sitting right in front of me.
You've got it?
Yeah.
Everyone can have it fully. This is me. Where's the camera? Is it there?
Yeah.
Please illegally download it. I don't mind. You can have it.
Why? Why don't you just upload it to Spotify or any of the DSPs that would love to also house it? And the distribution's pretty not expensive and quick.
I know. It's so true. Because... maybe I will one day. I'm not ruling it out.
But why not now?
Because I really, well, at least for example, for this album, I was releasing this album, and this album was about a year in my life, and it was a sort of a cohesive project. I was in control of that, and I love Girls' House, but I wrote that song I think 3 years ago, and it was about a very different time in my life, very different, and I think. It's just a different time, and I feel like to promote it, which is what I'd want to do. I like promoting my music. I want to do that, but to talk about it and to promote it, I think I just feel too far away from who I was when I made that song, and it would feel a bit disingenuous for me to really do that promotion. But I love the song, and I love that people love it, and again I really want them to have it, so I keep trying to give it to people for free. I really do.
Dan, put a link in the description below so you can
literally
legally download the song.
I will. I have the Dropbox link. I'll put it in there.
Dan can leak it.
That's crazy. What else are you thinking?
I mean, just while we're on the topic, Asylum, that's another one that I keep on seeing requests for.
Yeah, they love Asylum. Again, this is truly honesty hour over here. I've actually just not written any more of that song. I just wrote the bit that I wrote and I put it online, which is what I was talking about earlier. Sometimes you do sort of give people things and when it's not done, and that's fun too. But I actually love that chorus and I love the idea of that song. So I probably will finish it at some point. But I just haven't really been near a piano in the last X amount of months, and I kind of need a piano to finish it. So I guess I'll try and find one soon, and I'll get that done, and then maybe I'll give them that illegally for free too. It could be an A and a B side.
Why'd you stop making that song?
Honestly, because I was in the studio making another song. It was when I was in Bergen last summer, and I'd done Body Better, and I was working on a different song called Truth Is, and we were recording that song, but then Matthias went I think he went to park his car again. I can't entirely remember, but he left the studio for a bit, so then I was by myself, so I started writing Asylum, and then I wrote that chorus, and it was an idea me and Inez had been talking about the day before, but then he came back from parking his car, and then I had to, do the rest of the vocals, so then I stopped.
So no,
No, that's the thing. There's no deeper reason, but I really like the idea, and then maybe, I guess, I can't remember, I've probably tried to do more, but I guess I was... in that moment, I captured something to write that, and I was feeling something, and I captured something in the writing of that maybe I've not found since. But I have confidence I could find it again. You just need to be in the right moment.
Well, how do you know when those moments come? And when it comes to even working, do you set time aside to work, or is it when the moment comes you drop everything and go?
I think a bit of both. I set time aside. I sort of believe in sitting and just thinking. Even if inspiration is not striking, just sit and I just look at my phone or I look at my laptop, whatever I'm writing on, and I just sort of, I try. I think it's good to try. And then sometimes you really don't want to write the song, but you just sort of know you should. I've had that before where I'm I don't really know what I want to write about, and I don't really know how to execute this, but that's sort of the moments when if you have the spark or the kernel of inspiration, you should probably just sit there and follow it. And sometimes I've done that, and then the songs happened in half an hour. I had that 2 weeks ago where I'd been we'd been trying to write something for ages all day, and again then we were listening to that music, and I was sort of doing something with that music and tried to write a verse, and it was sort of not quite clicking, and then I sat at the piano, and then I ended up writing the entirety of that song. But all day I was really I'm tired. I would like to go home, but I didn't go home because I knew there was more to be done, and there was, and I'm glad I didn't go home.
How'd you know?
Just kind of did. I don't know. I just kind of did, and if I'm in the studio, I don't think I've ever left because I couldn't think of anything. I'll just stay. I'll just stay till 7 every time. I just am always there until at least 7. And then by that point, I've probably figured something out.
Do you enjoy touring, or would you rather be in a studio working?
I enjoy touring. Performing was less natural to me than writing was. Because I grew up writing. I didn't really grow up performing. But
you did pretend to be Taylor Swift.
I did pretend to be Taylor Swift. I was sort of giving D-grade tribute act for a while. But luckily I think I've stopped giving that. I mean, you can ask the internet. But I loved Taylor Swift. I loved her growing up. So that was like actually someone I looked a lot at. Which is funny because obviously now she's on this huge tour and like performer of the decade. But I used to watch her videos of her on like, I think it's a documentary of her during the era of Fearless. And I used to watch those and watch her performing and with her guitar and doing like Country Music Awards or the VMAs. And I was really inspired by that. So I used to like look in the mirror and play my guitar. And I used to play like Tell Me Why by Taylor Swift, which is I think on the first or the second album, it was on Fearless. I used to just like try and do singing and guitar at the same time. And that's sort of how I learned.
And now we apply those skills.
And now we do. And I do like touring a lot. I love my band and we're all really close. And I love the travel. I love seeing new places and meeting new people. And I love the shows. There's such a community to them now. And I love seeing like the people in the queue. It's so special.
I had no idea that you were signed to Ed's record label, Gingerbread Man Records.
True fact.
Yeah, I had no idea.
You didn't?
Now, well, I mean, I looked in I looked in the notes, but I had no. Well, it is confusing on the outside as somebody who does work because it is kind of still the old crew, but it's a new crew because I think he upstreams to the old guys.
Yeah.
We'll cut this out because it's boring. But like from like an outside perspective, it's confusing because like I'm still working with everybody at Atlantic and Warner because I'm pretty sure he upstreams. So you upstream, and then Autumn Variations upstream. You know? You feel me?
It's all going on in the UK right now.
Shit's happening.
I mean, yeah, it's not actually. It is actually super boring. But yeah, I was signed to Atlantic, and then I described it to people. I just sort of like jumped across to Ed because we met and we thought that would be a cool idea. So I jumped across and I'm sort of, signed to Gingerbread, but Gingerbread is part of Atlantic. And so everyone works together. In Atlantic and Gingerbread and all of us, and everyone's known each other for years. So it's actually really not that dramatic at all. But,
no, so to be fair, from the outside looking in, I would not necessarily know because...
Exactly.
Yes. See?
No, I get it now. I'm saying it.
Thank you so much for proving my point. It means a lot. But that's fucking cool. Because I'm assuming that's like having a label head that understands what it's like to, I don't know, be in your shoes.
It is, yeah. And Ed is, people always ask, like, how's Ed as a boss, or how's Ed as this? And I'm like, world's best boss. But he's great and he just really supports me. And I think we've worked together for years now, which is crazy. We met in 2020.
Wow.
And he's just a fan of what I do, I think. I mean, he's a fan of what I do, and because of that, he just sort of supports it, and he'll be like, I love this one, or I love this one, and if I ask, I'm like, do you have any notes on this? Do you know how this could be better, or what song of these 3 is your favorite? And he'll tell me, but he also really just lets me make what I want to make, and just supports it.
Really,
and I think
special.
trust, it's amazing. He's really, I mean, I'm sure everyone who knows him agrees, but he's just like a really incredible person. He's very generous, and he's very smart, and he's very kind. So it's super easy to work with.
Sick.
It is sick. It's so good.
It's really a blessing.
It is. It's the most chill time in the world.
It is the coolest label situation ever.
Yeah, it's great. He's like so easy to work with. Dream team. World's Best Boss.
He wrote on the first album, right? But he didn't write on the second album, or did he?
No, he didn't write on the second album. He did play. I got him to play and sing on one of the songs on The Good Witch, just because it's good to support new talent. And he did a great job. That was on track 5, Want You Back. And the only reason we didn't write for this album, truly, it's actually funny because we saw each other so much. We were on tour together all of last year and half of this year, and the only reason we didn't write was because we were probably just like chatting. We saw each other all the time. Why didn't we write a song? But this is the thing, we're just actually friends, so we just actually talk about like life and we just didn't really write because we were busy chatting shit.
It's giving healthy.
It's giving healthy, isn't it? It's the healthiest relationship in the world. But yeah, and I'm sure I'd love to write with him for whatever I do next, and I'm sure we will for years to come. So
you should be proud of this album, dude.
It's really
fucking
good.
phenomenal.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
But you can listen to all of Maisie's music. It's waiting for you on Amazon Music. There is a link in the description below. It's really great.
Thank you. I agree.
Yeah.
I do.
I know.
How'd you know it was all finished?
I wrote the last song on this album, which is called There It Goes. And I wrote that song in probably October, or maybe, I think it would have been mid-October. So I wrote that song then, and I'd been in the studio the week before, and I'd written 5 songs on this album in that week. I wrote like Wendy, History of Man, BSC, I wrote a bunch of songs. And then I was meant to go to Bergen, which is in Norway, with Matthias, who I talked about earlier, to write again for the next week. But I got really ill that week previously. I was really sick. I couldn't sing. So I cancelled the first few days of that Bergen trip because I was like, I actually can't sing. Like, I need to get a voice back. So I went home and I was at home for a few days, and then I got a little bit better. And it's kind of what I was talking about earlier, when you like don't really want to. It's like I was at home and I was tired and like kind of would have liked to stay at home, but I was like, I should go. I should go to Bergen. So I did. So I went for 2 days with a friend of mine called Miranda Cooper, who's an amazing songwriter, and we went together. And it was weird looking back. I think a lot of this album was like quite magic, for want of a better word, or fateful. Sort of things fell into place that I look back on and I'm like, yeah, it's funny how life works. But I went for 2 days, and I wrote one song in those 2 days, and it was the song There It Goes. And I went into the studio that first day, and I didn't actually go in intentionally thinking, okay, I need to write a summary song, a song that sort of says where I am now and does that. But I guess I just sort of if I knew I sort of needed to in myself. And so then that song There It Goes is a song really that ends that chapter of my life. It's a song that's about closure, and it's about sort of like shutting that book. And as a songwriter, trust me, like I can keep that book going. I could never stop talking about the same thing. If you ask me to, I could keep going. But I think with that song, that was me sort of like doing a full stop, doing a last page, and then tying that ribbon and putting that part of my life in that story, setting it in words, and then sort of making my peace with it. And so I wrote that song There It Goes, which is about all of those things. And literally in it, I talked about running down Columbia Road, which is a street that's near my house in London. And I'd gone for one run. This is what I say is so funny about the song. I'd gone for one run and I wrote about it. And then I was like, I'm doing yoga with my friends. I went to yoga once and I wrote about it. I've never done it since. But it's good to promote that you're healthier than you are. And then I wrote that song. It was all literally, I was talking about having moved house. I just moved house. I was talking about hanging up art. Like me and my housemates were like putting up posters. I was talking about going on first dates and getting coffee for free. I'd gone on a first date. I got a coffee for free. It was a very, very timestamp of my life. And I wrote that song. And then once I'd written that song and I'd come back to the UK, I remember saying to my manager, I was like, I'd still had some more sessions in. So I still had more time to write. And I remember saying like, I'll definitely go to the sessions and like, I'll 100% give it my all. But I was like, I think I've written that song and I think I've said it all now. I don't really know what else I would want to say and I think I'm done. But I'll still try. And I did still try, but I was done. And that was the last song on the album, and I kind of knew it was done from then.
Why'd you still try?
Because you never know. And I am that person. I'm like, well, you can't. You just don't know what if you make some? Also, what if I make something that then in 2 years is something for something else? You know, I also, maybe it's the like nerd in me, but I will work up to the deadline. I really will. So I did.
Is there a song that's taken on new meaning from the beginning of this process to now?
Yeah. Thinking of which ones. I wrote the song, there's a song called The Band and I on this album, and it's about being on tour. And I started that song in, I think it was last March, maybe it was the very, very beginning of April. And I ended that song. I finished that song in November. That's like on the album, that's the song with the longest sort of writing process, because it really started in April. I wrote the chorus on the Ed tour with my friend Inez backstage in Vienna, I think, and then I finished it back in LA. And then I got all the band into the studio to track the like their parts. And it was a really long process. And it was about that tour, and it was sort of about, it was about that tour that I was on last March. And now singing it on this tour that I'm on now, which is a tour a year and a half later, it's so much, it means so much to play that song on tour, because it's about that. And so it's kind of meta, but it's like a crazy thing to play a song about a love for tour and for music and for friendship with your friends that you wrote it about on a stage in front of a crowd. And those are also I always say, like, if you're at a show, if you came to those shows, if you're at this show, this song is about you, because it's about music and how much I love it and how much it means to me and to the people listening.
This album, by the way, is waiting for you. You should listen, obviously. And each song is a tarot card, correct?
Yes.
That's like, you have a physical tarot card?
I do, yeah.
There's a deck?
There's a deck, yeah.
Sick. It's pretty cool.
Big brain.
You believe in that?
I actually have had my cards read twice this year, once in New York and once in Berlin, which is honestly sexy. And
the confidence is really great.
It's really, well, it's not sexy if I wasn't involved. It was just a sexy fact to say, like, once in New York and once in Berlin. And I don't attribute any of that to this. But I had them read in New York, and it was so fun. And she told me lots of things, but it was funny. I did it as part of an interview with Teen Vogue. So it was me and this journalist, and we'd never met. And we were both having our cards read by this woman. And it was the strangest experience of having her be like, are there any relationships in your life that you feel uncomfortable in? And you're like, and you're like looking at the Teen Vogue journalist, like,
that's heavy.
Like, kind of. But she was great, actually. Her name was Crystal. And it was really interesting. But that tarot card reader told me that I needed to buy more red underwear, and she told me my journal was purple, and I was like, no fucking way it is. And now I look back and I'm like, there's a lot of colours it could have been. Maybe that's not that crazy. But she was going to lose my luggage, and I haven't so far.
Okay, that's good.
So I learned a lot in that one, more specific facts. And then
how about Berlin?
Berlin,
She's more legit.
Yeah, she told me that I got the star card, which is a great card to get.
Oh.
Which I was pleased with.
Fame?
Yeah, wealth and prosperity.
Look at you.
Brilliant. It's been up from there. No. No, they were both really interesting. And I actually think it's cool. I wasn't, before this album, and honestly before this album, I wasn't super spiritual, or I didn't really have any experience within that. And there's still many people who know a lot more than me. But I do think the tarot card thing is good, because it makes you think about your life and yourself in a more, I don't know if this is the right word, but I guess like holistic or grounded way. For me at least, when I got my cards read and they were asking me these questions, you think about like your relationships and your home and your family, because it's what it's sort of telling you to think about, which I think is good. I think it's a healthy thing to do. So I'm pro tarot card. Doing
an audit on yourself and assessing everything.
Exactly.
As scary as it may be, is very healthy.
It is good.
You have a lyric about something like you're not homesick, but you told your mom you were.
Yeah, she hates that one. You want to know something funny? So for both my albums that I've made, you do in the album like CD booklet, you put all the lyrics to all the songs in the CD booklet, and I I'm always so worried that I'm going to make a spelling mistake. I guess this is fun. It's like, I wonder if people know that like when the artists are making those lyric booklets, like, well, I don't know how everyone else is doing it, but I'm looking. I'm like the one that's on the Google Doc, like, are these lyrics right? I hope there's no spelling errors. And so my mum is really smart and she used to be a journalist. So I would, for both of my albums, I got my mum to look at the lyrics to see like to check the grammar and the spelling basically. But I did that for the first album and then I did it for the second album, but I hadn't actually played her really any of the music. And then I was home and I was like, oh, Mum, we really need to do this. Can you help me look at the grammar and the spelling? Terrible decision because it's like your mum reading your diary and like you're there with her while she's reading it. And then she read the song The Band and I, and there's a lyric about it, how I say I called my mother in a Denny's and lied. And she was like, what? And I was like, Queen, focus on the grammar. Don't take it in. And so yeah, she didn't like those lyrics, but she likes the song, I think.
That's good.
Do you miss your sister when you're on the road?
I do miss my sister. She's I have a twin sister.
She's a twin.
Thank you.
I have a twin. She's called Ellen. In every world that is fair and right, she would be famous, but unfortunately, she's not. And
that's rough.
She should be famous. She's very. She should be, but she's in brands marketing in London, and she's great. She just threw a party this weekend, which was great. I obviously wasn't there, but I heard about it a lot. And yeah, I do miss her, but she keeps me informed. She actually has promised all of her work that they can have tickets to my show at the end of the year.
It's a big promise.
It's a big promise. It's like 20 people. And then she texts me and she goes like, I said we could have our Q4 Christmas social at your Wembley show. And I was like, well... okay, I guess we can make that work. And she called me once with her boss on a night out and they were both drunk. And he was like, we've heard we're coming to the show. And I was like, as long as you keep employing her. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, my friend.
So you have like twin telepathy or something? Are you guys connected? Can you feel each other or no?
I don't, depends really. Sometimes maybe. We're very different. We're like as different as people can be. So I sort of just think, what would I not be thinking? And then she'll probably be thinking that.
Cool. Makes sense. By the way, all of her music waiting for you. Maisie, listen, Amazon Music, link in the description below.
What inspired Bachy Crazy?
I just was honestly needing jail time last year for a long time. I needed actual mental jail time for a bit. No, I wrote that song in October, but really I think it was accessing a feeling I was feeling in probably like May. And it's just, it's funny because the song's called Bachy Crazy and if you listen to it and you really like engage with it, what it's actually saying is that like from the outside, I appear absolutely fine. Like I actually seem so okay. And the point of that song is like, no, like, you know, deep within, I'm actually scaling the walls insane. But from the outside, you're not seeing that. And that's what that song was about. And I think it was I think I probably did. I kept a lot of things within for a time period. So I guess when I wrote that song, that was me sort of like giving them a place to go.
How long does it take for you to even have? Why do you wait so long? Number one, and number two, like, what is it like to actually release that?
I didn't intentionally wait. It's not like it was a song I was waiting to write. I didn't know I was going to write it really, but sometimes I find I write better retrospectively. I find it easier to like understand how I felt about something or to summarize it. I think like for me, the best songs are like jokes, and sometimes you don't know the punchline yet. It's if you're in the midst of the feeling, I don't know the punchline of that feeling, and the best song has the best punchline. And so sometimes you need to wait a bit and then look back and be like, I can see how I felt, and I can like hold it in both hands, and I can like mold it into something, and that's the punchline, and that's the point. That's the point of the song. That's the point of the feeling. But when you're in it, you don't know the point yet.
It's like, does that come with the story too that you're telling? Like, do you not know what you're actually like the story you're telling with these songs until it's done?
A bit, yeah. I didn't. intentionally set out to write, I guess, a breakup album or an album about. Yeah, I didn't set out to write that album. I wasn't like, this is what it'll be. So I think some artists like have Pinterest boards and have a title before anything, and I think that's amazing. But I sort of write and then I see it and then I form it and I sort of structure it into something. But yeah, I guess I didn't know the story until I finished the story.
What are you thinking?
Why didn't Kate's brother fit on the album?
I actually thought it would be on the album when I released it, and then that song came out in like May, I think, and then by the time it got to October, I just, number one, I realized I sort of what I was saying to Zach, I sort of realized what the album was that I was making, and I realized the story I was telling, and Kate's brother was not really, with love to that man. He was not really part of that story.
Oh, so the whole album, I thought the whole album may be a breakup album about
from Kate's brother.
Yeah.
No, we actually never dated or met when I wrote that song. Fun fact. Never met that man. I met him now. So that song, just for some context, I wrote that song because I had this Halloween party, and I have a friend called Kate, and we had this whole joke in my friendship group that like I loved her brother, but he just left London. He'd been staying with her and he just left. And I was like, you should have brought him to the party. And he was an icon. And so I wrote the song. I was like, this would be such a funny idea for a song. Let's write a song called Kate's Brother. And I was like getting all the facts from Kate, like, oh, like what does he do, or like this or that, because I was like doing it. I was basically doing it for the bit. Like it was for the girls and it was for the bit. And it was for the group chat. But unfortunately, the song left the group chat and it came out. And I love that song. And then obviously I did text Kate's brother and I said, hello, I've written the song. I sent it to him and I was like, honestly, like, you seem great, like you just keep living your life, like sorry if it's a bit random. And then we met and we shotgunned a beer together, and he's a bro. He's literally a bro. That's honestly true. There's no
And that's the whole story.
That's the whole story. He's a bro, I'm a bro. We will never kiss on the mouth, and like that's that.
Sick.
Yeah.
Never say never.
Yeah, I guess so.
You have no shame in writing records ripped from your reality and totally embellishing on reality.
No shame. I don't have any. No, did you say I have no shame? Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I definitely said you have no shame. Yeah.
Yeah. I sort of just hung on to that bit. But it's also true. It's true. I actually say this to people all the time. It's like I have no shame, and that's what gets you, far in this life. Just have no self-respect on a level.
By the way, I agree. I'm very rare, I feel understood by music, but very rarely, do I always feel similarities between myself and somebody who sits on our couch, deep similarities. But I'm the same way. If something happens in my day, I go to a microphone and I totally embellish and talk shit on it. And the only difference is you put it in a song that sometimes will never see the light of day, or it's just for you or your friends or whatever. Or sometimes it gets put on a fucking album that
sometimes it does.
Tens and tens of millions of people listen to.
100%. And Kate's brother is a great example of that. I also think though that in terms of, I write songs about my life. So if you're in my life, you might get a song. Yeah. But I'm also a private person, and I really try and I think about the people that have inspired the songs, and I think it's fair game. Fair game. I'm gonna write the song, and that's that. But I really try to keep a distance, at least from the relationships of me. I have an audience. I write a song. They are a person. There's all these intricacies within that, and I think that I try and keep the person far away from it. But what's fair game is fair game, and they can write a song about me, and I'm sure there are those in the world. But
are there?
I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are. But yeah, I try and keep the people far away from it. And it's really not the point. I write the song for me, from my experience, and that's the point of the song. It's about my interpretation and how I felt about it. But I do try and be as respectful as possible towards the person, apart from when I wrote a song called Kate's Brother, and that is his name.
Just so deeply detailed too, but people love that. Great art is detailed.
I agree.
Genius is in nuance.
I agree.
It's like your Dear John moment,
What, Kate's brother?
Yeah.
Yeah. There are similarities.
Loose ones, yeah.
Loose similarities. But no, I'm actually so lucky that Kate's brother is such a legend. It worked out for me.
Shout out Kate's brother.
Shout out.
By the way, all of Maisie Peters' music is waiting for you on Amazon Music. Tap the link in the description below. Final thoughts, Dan. What are you thinking?
I'm going to run these down quickly. Which song is more fun to perform, Watch or Lost the Breakup?
Lost the Breakup.
Okay. When did you start performing Night Changes on tour, covering Night Changes?
On this North American tour.
Why'd you pick that song?
Because I'm related to all of One Direction as a British person.
Is that true?
Those are your brothers.
Yeah, their DNA just exists in everybody throughout the UK.
Yes.
Understood. Why now?
Why now? Because we actually used to do this medley on our previous tour, and we used to have Dear John in the medley. And the girls loved that. So then we were like, well, we need to do a new song. What are the girls going to love? And we thought One Direction was a good bet.
Yeah.
And it's also sweet. It's actually it's a sweet song, and it works really nicely in our medley. And it's actually like, it's so lovely seeing, honestly, like there was a mosh pit to Night Changes at one of these shows, like an actual mosh of girls going like it was a lot. And it's lovely to see from the stage.
Night Changes. Classic record.
Classic.
What did Dave Grohl tell you after Glastonbury performance?
He said, that was good. And I was like, well, that was good. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, that's a big stage. I was like, it is quite big, isn't it? And then I was like, you're going on? And he was like, yeah. And then my mum was there, and I had a chat with my mum. And then my drummer was there, and I was like, you should meet my drummer, because obviously he's a huge fan. And Dave Grohl was so nice. He was like, hey, bro. And my drummer literally like crumpled and shielded himself like he was seeing the sun. He was like, it's the inspiration of my life. And that was really wholesome. And then Jack just sort of like rocked back and forth for a bit afterwards and like couldn't speak any sentences. But Dave Grohl was so nice. Honestly, I think it's a cliche, but he was actually so nice. And he like watched some of our set from like that thing on the side of the stage where you sort of, it's like a little raised platform. I think with one of his daughters, and then and he didn't have to come and say hi afterwards. Like, it was so cool that he even watched it in the first place, but he actually came and said hi, and I thought that was so cool and so nice.
It's giving icon.
It is.
And you know what's going to happen in a couple days? You're going to wake up and it's going to be October.
There it is. Wow, you really use that laptop and you Google things. It's amazing.
You can't Google that. I did my research. That's real research.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You listened to the songs and you thought,
So what is this? How's this going to go over? Listen, I know the girlies love the September line. I figured it's October. They got like that one too,
They're
right?
gonna like that one too. That's the thing. Like, give him another month. Yeah. I really do love to give him a month. I've also got an April in a song. I've just done like a Merry Christmas thing. I'm really covering the calendar. Somebody's got to. And yeah, like, I'm really excited for. I wake up and it's October. It's gonna be big for October.
It is
huge.
Huge time to be at the month of October.
I see the posts already, the Instagram stories. Yeah, it's gonna be.
Yeah, caption. It's done.
TikTok.
It's actually done. I don't know what else you want from me.
You've given a lot. You've shared a lot.
I have. I give everything I have.
On behalf of the people, we say thank you.
You're welcome.
Listen to Maisie Peters' music. It's waiting for you. Link in the description below. It's all on Amazon Music. Amazon Music. You good?
Yep.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks, guys. It was really fun. Thanks for having me.
Listen to The Good Witch. You're really incredible. And,
thank you.
Album superb. And come back.
Deluxe coming soon, right?
Yeah. You know. Guess we'll see.
Listen to The Good Witch. Maisie Peters, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.